Okay, so it seems like recently there's been a little bit of a situation going down with Twitch and a lot of streamers, right? Because this has been a very, very funny one to see, and essentially there's been a pretty mixed kind of reaction to this. Because Twitch Rivals, if you don't know, is kind of an event that gets held for streamers to essentially compete with each other over different games and things, and it tends to be a pretty good time. It happens quite often. I think there was literally one not even a week ago, right? And they recently announced the fact that they would be doing a Women's Day one on March 8th, which is in 4 days time for International Women's Day, which obviously is great, right? And of course that is something that they set up, right? But then many people were quick to notice the game that they had actually set for this Women's Day being Overcooked. Now, if you don't know, obviously the whole, I'm sure you know the kind of implications that a lot of people have been kind of making, right, whenever it comes to this, due to the whole like woman and kitchen thing and all of that kind of stuff, right? People have found it pretty funny because the only game that they've picked for them to play on the International Women's Day is a cooking game, right? And it is pretty ironic. But again, many people have had mixed reaction to this. Some people mad, some people just find it funny and understand why they've done it. And I do think at the end of the day, it is one of these games that is pretty available for a lot of people, right? Because again, let's be real, not every single woman streamer and not every single streamer in general is a gamer, right? Then they're not really someone who plays games. They're not really someone who plays like, the Call of Duties or whatever, right? Any like kind of shooters or something like that, which obviously could be an option, right? But you can throw in something like Overcooked, which obviously is quite an easy game to understand if you have, like half an hour of spare time, whatever, just to learn the basics, right? And again, I do think that is one of the big reasons as to why this was chosen. But as there has been a lot of backlash, it seems like there's been many responses from many VTubers and stuff in the space, which I thought was quite funny, and I kind of wanted to share it with you guys because, again, many people have been discussing it. Obviously, Shondo just literally laughing at it, saying, ha, that was about it, right? And a lot of people saying, I get the implication, but to be honest, I can't remember a time when I was playing in a group of mostly women and this game wasn't suggested. It's just like super popular and cozy, which yeah, is 100% true as well, right? A lot of people just do tend to like this game anyways. Obviously, Megalodon here saying, my bad, let me just get into the kitchen where I belong, apparently. Said apparently the Women's Guild voted on this. The game selection was not great, by the way, which obviously, yeah, we will go through that in a second. And obviously, yeah, Megalodon, not too happy about that either. But again, I think, a lot of people are taking a more joking aspect of it, right? Obviously, Scooter as well saying, Twitch be like, happy Women's Day, now back to the kitchen with you, gotta love them. Which, yeah, obviously, there's been a lot of, dislike towards Twitch recently, especially over lots of different decisions, right? And someone put here, meanwhile, someone that's never left the kitchen, which is obviously her streams. She does a couple of streams literally in the kitchen, which I think is quite funny, right? And yeah, it seems that lots of people have been joking. Some people more mad than others. Some people don't really care, right? But then Twitch Rivals did come out with a response saying, addressing the Women's Guild United Twitch rival show. They say the goal of the event is to uplift this community. As part of that, highlight women in the community, a game that emphasizes teamwork, adaptability, and shared leadership. In the lead up to the post, we collaborated with the Women's Guild on the game selection. Many games were considered before voting on 4 choices, plus an open voting option. When Overcooked 2 won the guild vote, Twitch Rivals plus the Women's Guild made a deliberate choice not to let stereotypes dictate what games women should or shouldn't play. That said, we should have shared more context about the rationale behind this choice, and we should have done a better job at spotlighting the creators and collaboration. Future messaging will better reflect the guild's voice and the purpose behind the Women's Guild United show, which, yeah, I do think is true, right? I think essentially at the end of the day, what Twitch Rivals should have done, they should have clearly communicated that this was a game voted by the people that were going to be taking part in it, and that this was not a kind of just a game that they've picked for them to play, because sometimes that does happen. They pick the game and then they get in the talent, right? But this time it was actually voted by the women that were taking part, and obviously they said, they didn't want to let stereotypes dictate what games women should or shouldn't play, which I think is fair enough. But also, you should probably add in the original post here, saying, let's celebrate International Women's Day together. And obviously, you should have just put like a little disclaimer down here saying, hey, by the way, this game was voted by the woman that will be playing it, right? And that's it. That's what you needed to do, and this drama would have never happened. Obviously, there probably would have still been the jokes. There probably still would have been a little bit, but again, I think there would have been less people annoyed at Twitch and more people understanding as to why this has been chosen. And obviously, as I said, there's many reasons as to why this was the most picked game. It's probably due to the fact of, yeah, it's a fun, cozy game. It's easy to understand. A lot of people can get into it. And again, it does seem like a pretty interesting one for a Twitch Rivals, right? And obviously people have been responding to that, including Straw here saying, this was so dumb. Literally, who cares? It's a video game. If you're sensitive about a woman, being a woman, that you can't handle a game about cooking, I generally think you need to touch some grass, and thank God you don't have more serious things to do to concern yourself about, which, yeah, I think that is pretty interesting as well, because again, I think that, you know, if there's women complaining about this, I've heard that there is some woman complaining about this, then you're going to look pretty stupid now, knowing that this was voted literally for it. So again, yeah, there was some talk about it. Obviously, Savvy saying, real talk, it's pretty sad performative females are now attacking women for voting on a game they enjoy, a game made with women in mind that has a female audience and is loved by women around the world. Women still aren't allowed to make choices they want. Mostly women play this game. The women who voted are excited about it, but performative women who have to perform are upset. Why didn't you pick Helldivers? Because women don't want to play it. You know, most women don't play all the other genres, which again, obviously, you know, there is exceptions whenever it comes to female streamers and playing games or whatever, right? And you could probably list a ton of them off the top of your head, but I don't think there's enough in one kind of genre or category to kind of warrant an entire Twitch Rivals. And if there is, then maybe sure, but for like a, you know, a general International Women's Day one, they should probably pick a game that more streamers can get into, more streamers can kind of join in on, and of course, making it a better Twitch Rivals, right? I'll see Ruru here saying women can't escape the kitchen, and Lucy Pyre as well saying, first funny Twitch post in the history of humanity. And yeah, as I said, right, a lot of people, I think the main majority, and especially in the VTubing space, right, a lot of the VTubers are taking this as a joke, it feels like, and I think that is great, right? I think that is great because, of course, I do think that, you know, it wasn't that serious to begin with. I think there was, you know, this kind of comedic element to it because it is pretty ironic, but it was voted for by the players of the game anyways, right? Your Ara said, bruh, Rose said, I'll be there to support the woman. Let's got Rainho as well saying, screw it, can we have this one for Rivals 2? Which obviously they say a dishwashing simulator, which is crazy. You know, you got Lucia say, hey guys, did we think this one through? Fair as well. Literally so many VTubers responding to this. You got Mincy as well saying, had every chance to make it, this instead, shaking my head. Woman Simulator. Freem saying, I want in on this. You know, so many more, you know, just kind of, you know, giving their own opinions on this. And I do think it is pretty funny to see the kind of reactions, because there's a lot of YouTubers that have been responding to this, right? Which I think is pretty crazy. I wonder if anybody is going to be actually competing in this, because again, they haven't specified who is going to be in this Women's Day kind of Twitch Rivals. It could be some VTubers, it could be some IRL streamers. I don't know, but we'll have to see whenever that does come out. But yeah, it seems like they are sticking with their original decision for Overcooked 2, which I think is great because, of course, as I said, it was voted for by the players, voted for by the women that wanted it to be like this. I don't know if it is the players or if it is the company, the Women's Guild company. But again, obviously, it seems like, yeah, it says, oh, they won the guild vote. Yeah, so it wasn't by the players, but by the guild itself. And I think it is a good option. I think it's a good option, as I said before, for the reasons with it getting easy, for it being easy to get into, easy to kind of invite anybody really to play this game. Because let's be real, right? You know, if you wanted to include some of the top female streamers on the platform, a lot of them don't play games or don't play kind of, you know, shooters or whatever, or these big, you know, really popular games at the moment, right? That to a level at least that would be entertaining, right? Whereas Overcooked, I feel like would 100% be a better pick because, as I said, it's easier for people to get into, especially streamers that don't play games as often, or you know, don't play games at all, right? And I think, you know, obviously that is probably one of the decisions that they made whenever making that choice. But yeah, that's essentially all there is for this situation. If you guys did enjoy this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. Also, good game subs, use my code Kazza, get 10% off. Again, they got a ton of really cool stuff over there. Definitely recommend checking it out. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. That's all. See ya.